My friends, in life we all have dreams. Big ones. We want health, success, happiness, meaningful relationships. But there's a little problem. We also have the same 24 hours in a day, the same temptation to press the snooze button, and the same amazing skill of justifying why today is not the right day to start. We say things like, I'll exercise when the weather is better, or I'll work hard when the conditions are perfect. But the truth is, perfect conditions rarely exist. If we wait for them, we will be waiting forever. Think of it like planting a tree. If you keep saying, I'll plant it when the weather is perfect, when I have the best seeds, when I have free time, you will end up with no tree and plenty of shade from someone else's tree. Sacrifice is the price we pay for growth. Excuses are the currencies of stagnation. Every time we sacrifice comfort, we make room for progress. Every time we choose excuses, we trade our dreams for a temporary sense of relief. We often look at successful people and think, they must have had it easy. No, they also had sleepless nights, failures, doubts, and struggles. The difference is, when others found reasons not to act, they found reasons to act anyway. A small example, have you noticed that we are ready to wake up at 4 a.m. for a holiday trip, but not for our own goals? The excitement of travel makes the sacrifice easy. Imagine if we could transfer that same excitement to building our future. Remember, sacrifice does not always mean suffering. It means giving up something lesser for something greater. It means replacing 1 hour of mindless scrolling with 1 hour of skill building. Replacing gossip with gratitude. Replacing comfort with commitment. Your dreams will cost you something. They will cost you time, effort, ego, and maybe even friends who don't support your growth. But the cost of not pursuing them is much higher. It's regret. And regret, my friends, is the heaviest luggage you can ever carry. So, the next time you catch yourself making an excuse, pause and ask, is this excuse worth my dream? Because in the end, life doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we are willing to sacrifice for. Make sacrifices, not excuses, and watch your life transform. We all have dreams. Some want to start their own business. Some want to write a book. Some want to get fit. And some want to travel the world. These dreams are like seeds. They have immense potential, but they can only grow if we plant them, water them, and nurture them over time. The trouble is, instead of planting the seed, many of us keep it in our pocket while saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'm too busy right now, or I don't have the resources yet. These are not harmless delays. They are excuses in disguise. And every excuse we make is like adding another stone to the wall that stands between us and our dream. Excuses are attractive because they offer immediate comfort. They allow us to avoid hard work, risk, and discomfort. But here's the catch. Well, they make today feel easy, They make tomorrow harder. Imagine a runner preparing for a marathon. If they skip training for one day because of the rain, and the next day because they are tired, and the next day because they have too much work, what happens? Slowly, they drift further from the fitness needed to run that race. The dream stays the same, but the person moves away from it. Sacrifice, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's uncomfortable in the short term, but rewarding in the long run. Sacrifice says, I will give up this moment of comfort because I value my future more than my present ease. If the same runner wakes up early despite the rain, trains despite feeling tired, and adjusts their schedule to fit in the miles, they are building the strength and discipline that will carry them across the finish line. In life, the people who achieve their dreams are rarely the ones with the easiest circumstances. They are the ones who chose sacrifice over excuses day after day. A student who's late into the night while others binge, watch shows, a young entrepreneur who invests their weeks into learning new skill, a friend, a parent who wakes up at 8 a.m. These people are to their M job, wakes up on a side biz before ends up fighting at skills while in invest skills. Their weekends are all friend at stack to door and at. And though they may not see results immediately, they are creating momentum toward their dream. Excuses slow you down, not just in action, but also in mindset. The more you justify why you can't, the more your brain believes it. Over time, excuses build a mental habit of inaction. Sacrifice builds the opposite habit, the habit of doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard. And habits, more than motivation, determine our future. It's not about never resting or never enjoying life. Rest is important. Balance is important. But when you are faced with a choice between something that brings temporary comfort and something that builds your future, remember this comfort will fade, but progress will last. So the next time you feel like saying, I can't because, pause, ask yourself, is this a genuine reason or just a convenient excuse? And then remind yourself that every small sacrifice today is a brick laid on the road to your dream, while every excuse is a detour that takes you further away. Your dreams are waiting, but they will not wait forever. Excuses waste the time you could be using to get closer. Sacrifice, though difficult, is the fastest way forward. And when you finally achieve that dream, you'll realize the temporary discomfort was worth every second. Have you ever heard someone say, I'll start when the timing is right? It sounds wise, doesn't it? But let me tell you a secret. The right time is a polite illusion our mind creates to keep us from acting. The perfect moment, the perfect weather, the perfect opportunity, they almost never arrive. And even if they do, they don't stay long enough for us to build our entire dream around them. Think about a farmer. If a farmer waits for the most ideal weather, the richest soil, And the best rainfall patterns before planting seeds, what happens? The seasons change, opportunities pass, and nothing grows. But the wise farmer plants anyway, sometimes in imperfect soil, sometimes in less than ideal rain, because they know that action now is better than perfection later. Life works the same way. We tell ourselves, I'll start exercising when my schedule clears up. I'll launch my business when I have more savings. I'll write my book when I have a month of free time. But here's the tree. Well, fine. Schedules rarely clear up. Money always feels less than enough. And free time is a myth. If we keep waiting for the right conditions, we'll be waiting for decades. People who accomplish great things rarely begin under perfect circumstances. Most start with limited resources, imperfect knowledge, and a healthy dose of uncertainty. What sets them apart is not that they had the perfect opportunity, but that they acted with the opportunity they had. There's an old saying, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. It's not poetic, it's practical. The dream doesn't need perfection at the start, it needs movement. Small, consistent steps taken today matter far more than flawless plan you'll execute someday. I remember a story of a man who wanted to learn the piano. He kept saying, once I buy a grand piano, then I'll begin. Months passed, years passed, and finally someone asked him, why don't you start with a keyboard? Why wait? His reply, because I want the best instrument for my practice. But here's the irony. The best instrument for practice is any instrument you actually practice on. This applies to everything. Waiting for perfect conditions is like waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before leaving your house. It will never happen. You need to start the journey and adapt along the way. And there's another hidden danger in waiting. Life changes while you wait. Opportunities have an expiration date. Skills you could have built will take longer if you delay. Even your own energy and health may not be the same years from now. Acting today, even imperfectly, is the only insurance you have against regret tomorrow. So, instead of asking, when will the conditions be right? Start asking, how can I make progress with the conditions I have right now? You may not have all the resources, but you have enough to take the first step. Once you take it, the second becomes clear, and the third even easier. The world doesn't reward those who wait for perfection. It rewards those who make progress despite imperfection. And when you finally achieve your dream, you'll look back and smile, realizing that the moment you stopped waiting and started working was the real, perfect moment all along. We all love comfort. A soft bed, a warm cup of tea, a cool breeze on a hot day. Comfort feels good. But here's the thing about comfort. It's sweet like sugar, and too much of it can be harmful. It can make us lazy, slow, and resistant to growth. Think about it. Growth rarely happens in our comfort zone. When a seed is planted, it doesn't grow because it's in a cozy place. It grows because it pushes through the soil, stretches toward the sun, and endures the changing weather. The process is not comfortable, but it is necessary. The same applies to us. We often tell ourselves, God, I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll start when it's easier. But if we wait for things to feel comfortable before we act, we may never act at all. Discomfort is not a sign that we're failing. It's a sign that we're stretching beyond our limits. Let me share a small story. There was a young man who wanted to become a skilled public speaker. He read books about it, watched videos, even practiced in front of the mirror. But when the opportunity came to speak in front of people, he hesitated. His palms were sweaty, his heart raced, and his mind screamed, "Not yet, I'm not ready." So he avoided it. The result, his dream stayed a dream. One day, he decided to face his fear and speak despite the discomfort. His voice trembled. He forgot some lines, but he finished the speech. And the surprising thing was, the discomfort didn't kill him, it made him stronger. Each time after that, it became a little easier. Within months, he was confident on stage. His growth began the moment he acted despite the fear. This is the formula for success. Not avoiding the difficult moments, but embracing them. The first gym session after years of inactivity will be uncomfortable. The first cold call to a client will be awkward. The first attempt at a new skill will be messy. But that's the price of progress. In fact, discomfort is a gift. It tells you that you're moving towards something new, something that matters. Comfort zones are like warm blankets, nice for resting. But if you stay wrapped up too long, you'll miss the sunrise outside. Success stories are filled with moments of discomfort. Athletes train in pain. Entrepreneurs face rejection after rejection. Artists receive criticism before they receive applause. But these people succeed because they push through, not because it was easy. Here's a simple truth: comfort is the reward, not the starting point. You don't begin in comfort and end in success. You begin in discomfort, and success brings a deeper, lasting comfort later. So, the next time you feel fear, awkwardness, or resistance, don't see it as a stop sign. See it as a green light that you're on the right track. The discomfort is temporary, but the growth it creates is permanent. Success is not built in the moments when you feel safe and secure. It's built in the moments when you step forward despite the shaking hands, the uncertainty, and the voice in your head telling you to run back to comfort. That's where transformation happens. We live in a world that loves quick rewards. Fast food, instant delivery, click purchases. Everything is designed to give us what we want right now. But the truth is, the most valuable things in life rarely arrive instantly. They take time, effort, and yes, sacrifice. Sacrifice is a strange word. For some, it feels heavy, like a burden. But in reality, sacrifice is simply a trade. Giving up something smaller today for something far greater tomorrow. The problem is, many of us are so focused on the today part that we forget the tomorrow entirely. Think about it like planting a fruit tree. If you plant a seed today, you don't get fruit tomorrow. In fact, for a while, you'll see nothing. You'll water it, protect it, nurture it, and still nothing. Some people lose patience and stop caring for it. But those who keep going, those who sacrifice their time and effort, eventually enjoy the sweet harvest, not just for one day, but for years. It's the same with our goals. Studying instead of watching TV is a sacrifice. Saving money instead of spending it on impulse is a sacrifice. Waking up early to exercise instead of sleeping in is a sacrifice. These may feel like small losses in the present, but they lead to huge gains in the future. Better health, more knowledge, financial freedom, stronger relationships, and personal fulfillment. And God, I remember meeting a man who had built a successful business after years of working late nights and weekends. He said something that stuck with me. I missed a few parties, but I gained the life I always wanted. That's the essence of sacrifice. You give up a few moments of comfort, but you gain a lifetime of possibilities. The tricky part is short-term comfort is very seductive. Scrolling through social media is easier than studying. Eating junk food is easier than cooking a healthy meal. Spending money is easier than saving it. But easy choices often lead to hard lives, while hard choices, the sacrifices, lead to easier lives later. Here's the mindset shift. Stop thinking of sacrifice as losing something and start thinking of it as investing in yourself. When you skip a night out to work on your skill, you're not missing out. You're building something bigger. When you resist buying that expensive gadget you don't need, you're not depriving yourself. You're giving your future self more freedom. Every sacrifice is like putting a brick in the foundation of your dream. One brick may not look like much, but brick after brick, you'll build something solid and lasting. And here's the best part. When the long-term gain finally arrives, the short-term sacrifices you made won't feel like losses at all. They'll feel like the best decisions you ever made. So, the next time you're tempted to choose comfort over commitment, ask yourself, will this choice bring me closer to my goal or further away? If the answer is further away, then maybe it's worth making the sacrifice. Because while comfort fades, the rewards of sacrifice last for a lifetime. It's easy to look at someone successful and think they had it easier than me. We assume they were born with advantages, connections, or luck that we don't have. But if you dig deeper, you'll find that everyone and I mean everyone, has faced their share of challenges. The difference is some turn those challenges into reasons to act, while others turn them into reasons to stop. Life doesn't hand anyone a smooth road. Some roads are rocky, some are steep, and some feel like climbing a mountain with no visible peak. But here's the truth. The people who reach the top aren't the ones with the smoothest path. They're the ones who kept walking even when the path was hard. Think about it. A student from a poor background can either say, I can't succeed because I don't have resources, or I will find a way despite my lack of resources. An athlete recovering from injury can either say, I can't compete anymore, or I will train differently until I'm back in the game. The situation might be the same, but the mindset makes all the difference. I once heard a story about two brothers who grew up in a troubled household with an alcoholic father. One became successful, disciplined, and responsible. The other followed the same destructive path as their father. When asked why they turned out so differently, both gave the same answer. With a father like mine, how could I be any other way? One used the challenge as an excuse, the other as a reason to change. Challenges are not permission to quit, they're invitations to rise. In fact, they often hold the exact lessons we need to grow. Struggles teach resilience, failures teach strategy, hardships teach gratitude, and overcoming them builds a kind of strength that comfort never can. The danger with excuses is that they feel so reasonable in the moment. We convince ourselves, I'll start when things get easier. I just can't because of my situation. But excuses never disappear on their own. They multiply. And the longer we feed them, the more they control our lives. Action, on the other hand, breaks the cycle. Even a small step in the right direction changes the story we tell ourselves. Instead of saying, I can't, we begin to say, I can, and I did. That shift is powerful. Look at any inspiring figure in history. Inventors, leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, and you'll see the same pattern. They faced obstacles. They were told no. They encountered rejection, failure, and setbacks. But they acted anyway. They understood that waiting for a challenge, free life, is like waiting for the wind to stop before learning to sail. You don't wait, you learn to navigate the wind. So the next time you face a challenge, remember this, it's not a stop sign, it's a test. And the way you respond will define where you end up. You can make an excuse, or you can make progress. You can let it stop you, or you can let it shape you. Everyone has challenges, but not everyone chooses action. Be the one who does. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to wake up early for something you're excited about? If you have a 5 a.m. flight for a holiday trip, you'll jump out of bed with energy, pack your bags the night before, and even skip your usual morning laziness. You don't complain about the lack of sleep because the destination excites you more than the discomfort bothers you. Now, here's the question. What if we approached our personal goals with the same excitement we have for vacations? What if we treated our dream career, fitness journey, or personal growth like an upcoming trip we couldn't wait to take? Passion is the magic that makes sacrifice feel lighter. When you truly care about where you're headed, the things you give up along the way don't feel like losses. They feel like investments. Skipping a night out to work on your project doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like preparation. Waking up early to exercise doesn't feel like torture. It feels like progress. The problem for many of us is that we treat our dreams like chores instead of adventures. We focus on the effort, the discipline, the grind, and forget to connect emotionally with the joy of the destination. When the destination excites you enough, the journey becomes part of the fun. I remember meeting a young woman who was studying to become a doctor. Her schedule was exhausting. Long hours, sleepless nights, endless textbooks. People often asked her, "How do you do it without burning out?" She smiled and said, "Every time I feel tired, I picture the day I'll be saving someone's life. That picture gives me energy. That's passion at work. It turns sacrifices into fuel. Without passion, sacrifices feel heavy. You'll constantly count what you're losing instead of what you're gaining. You'll think, I'm missing out on so much fun, instead of I'm getting closer to my dream. That's why connecting deeply with your why is so important. Your why is the vision that keeps you moving when the road feels steep. And here's the beautiful thing, passion is contagious. When you pursue something with genuine excitement, people around you notice. They might start supporting you, encouraging you, even joining you. This makes the journey even more rewarding. Of course, passion alone isn't enough. It needs to be paired with discipline. There will be days when you don't feel the spark, when motivation runs low. But if your goal excites you enough, you'll keep going because you remember the bigger picture. It's like that holiday trip. Even if the packing is boring and the airport lines are long, you don't give up because you know the destination is worth it. So, the next time you're struggling to make a sacrifice, stop and ask yourself, am I connected to the passion behind my goal? If not, spend some time imagining what success will feel like. Visualize it so clearly that it gives you the same thrill as a plane ticket to your dream destination. When you treat your goals like exciting trips, the sacrifices stop feeling like sacrifices. They start feeling like steps towards something beautiful. We often think big success comes from big actions, a huge breakthrough, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a massive risk that changes everything overnight. But more often than not, The biggest transformations come from something far less dramatic, small, consistent sacrifices made every single day. Think about water dripping on a stone. One drop doesn't do much. 10 drops don't either. But thousands of drops falling over time can shape even the hardest rock. The same is true for our lives. Small sacrifices, repeated daily, can reshape our future in ways we can't even imagine. The problem is, these small sacrifices often don't look impressive. Choosing to read for 20 minutes instead of watching TV won't change your life in a day. Skipping dessert tonight won't make you instantly healthy. Writing one page for your book won't get it published tomorrow. But these small decisions add up over weeks, months, and years. They become the difference between where you are, and where you dream of being. I remember a man who wanted to run a marathon but was completely out of shape. Instead of trying to run 10 miles on day one, he started with walking just 15 minutes a day. Every week, he increased his distance slightly. Months later, he was running daily, and eventually, he crossed the marathon finish line. The secret wasn't in doing something huge right away. It was in doing something small consistently. And small daily sacrifices work because they're sustainable. Anyone can push themselves for one day, but the real challenge is showing up every day. When you give up 30 minutes of social media to work on your dream, it may not feel like much, but if you do it for a year, that's over 180 hours of extra progress you've gained. Time most people waste without even noticing. And here's the powerful thing: small sacrifices don't just create results, they build habits. Once a habit is formed, it no longer feels like a sacrifice. It becomes a natural part of your life. At that point, you've rewired yourself for success without even realizing it. The danger is that small negative habits also compound. Skipping the gym once feels harmless, but skip it often enough and it becomes normal. Spending just a little more than you earn each month may not seem like a big deal until debt piles up. Small actions, good or bad, always multiply over time. So the question becomes, are your small daily choices moving you closer to your dreams or further away? Every time you choose to sacrifice a little comfort for a little progress, you're investing in a future where those small gains turn into big victories. Imagine where you could be 1 year from now if you made just one small sacrifice each day. Read 10 pages, saved a small amount, learned one new skill, practiced for 20 minutes. You wouldn't just be a little better, you'd be in a completely different place. A success is not built in leaps, it's built in steps. And the beauty of small sacrifices is that anyone can start them today. The only requirement is to keep going long enough for the compound effect to work its magic. One of the easiest ways to improve your life is not by adding more things to do, but by replacing what holds you back with what pulls you forward. Growth doesn't always require doing more. Sometimes it requires doing different. Think of your daily routine as a jar. If you fill it with small stones of unimportant habits, mindless scrolling, gossip, endless TV binges, there's no space left for the big stones that actually matter, like building your skills, nurturing relationships, and taking care of your health. The only way to make space for those bigger commitments is to remove some of the smaller ones. God, I once met a man who wanted to write a book but claimed he didn't have time. We looked at his routine together. Every evening he spent 2 hours watching shows, then another hour on his phone. That was 3 hours a day, over 1,000 hours a year, going into habits that didn't bring him closer to his goal. He didn't need more time. He needed to replace a lesser habit with a greater commitment. When he swapped 1 hour of TV for 1 hour of writing, he finished his book in less than a year. Replacing habits isn't about becoming overly strict or eliminating all fun from life. It's about deciding what matters more. Do you want the temporary pleasure of a lesser habit or the lasting reward of a greater commitment? The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't require you to fight human nature. We all have limited willpower, and it's hard to just stop a habit without replacing it. But when you substitute it with something meaningful, you're not just removing, you're upgrading. It's like trading a snack for a nutritious meal. Here's a simple method. Every time you notice yourself doing something that doesn't serve your growth, ask, what could I be doing right now that would? If you replace 30 minutes of gossip with 30 minutes of learning, that's growth. If you replace an hour of video games with an hour of exercising, that's growth. If you replace hitting the snooze button with starting your day early, that's growth. And here's the deeper truth. When you choose greater commitments over lesser habits, you're not just changing your actions, you're changing your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who values progress over procrastination, substance over distraction, and purpose over passing time. Growth always comes with trade-offs. If you want to become more, you can't keep doing same things that keep you the same. The habits you choose today will shape the person you become tomorrow. So look at your life and ask yourself honestly, what's one small habit I can replace today with something that truly matters? It doesn't have to be a giant leap. Even swapping one lesser habit for one greater commitment can set off a chain reaction that transforms your life. When you start replacing instead of just adding, you don't just grow faster, you grow with clarity, purpose, and intention. When people talk about sacrifice, they usually focus on what they might lose in the moment: comfort, free time, relaxation, or pleasure. But very few stop to think about what they might lose if they don't make the sacrifice. And that loss is far more painful. It's called regret. Regret is a quiet but heavy companion. It doesn't show up immediately. It arrives years later when the opportunities are gone, when the energy you once had has faded, when the someday you kept talking about has already passed. Sacrifice demands something from you today, but regret demands something from you for the rest of your life. I once spoke to a man in his late 60s who said, I worked my whole life, but I never tried to start the business I always dreamed about. Now I have time, but not the energy. He didn't seem bitter, but there was a sadness in his eyes, the sadness of someone who knows they can't go back and change certain decisions. We often think sacrifices are painful, and yes, they can be uncomfortable. Waking up early to train, studying instead of partying, saving money instead of spending it recklessly, none of these feel easy in the moment. But that temporary discomfort is nothing compared to the long-term ache of knowing you could have done something but didn't. Think of it this way: sacrifice is like paying for a ticket to the life you want. Regret is standing outside the theater, hearing the applause for a show you never got to see because you refused to buy the ticket. The irony is that most people avoid sacrifice to escape discomfort, but in doing so, they trade it for a much bigger discomfort later. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, that the pain of regret weighs tons. And here's the truth: you don't get to avoid paying a price. Life will always demand a payment. You either pay with the effort, time, and energy required for your dreams, or you pay with the heavy cost of wishing you had tried. Sacrifice is simply choosing to pay upfront for a better future. When you sacrifice, you might miss a few nights of fun, but you gain decades of fulfillment. You might feel tired today, but you'll feel proud tomorrow. You might give up a little comfort now, but you'll create a life where comfort comes naturally because you built it. Regret, on the other hand, offers no reward. It only reminds you of the time you can get back, the choices you didn't make, and the chances you didn't take. So when you're faced with a hard choice, the sacrifice of effort today or the comfort of delay, remember this: the future you will either thank you or resent you. Every decision you make is a message to your future self. Make the choices they'll be proud of. Sacrifice may sting for a moment, but regret lingers for a lifetime. Choose the momentary pain that builds, not the lifelong pain that destroys. Every time we're tempted to give up, it's rarely because we've truly reached our limit. More often, it's because an excuse has stepped in between us and our goal. Excuses can be clever. They disguise themselves as valid reasons. I'm too tired. It's too late to start now. I will do when things settle down. But deep down, we know the truth. These are just comfortable exits from the hard road we don't want to walk today. Here's the question that can change everything. Is this excuse worth my dream? Imagine you're working towards something important, starting a business, learning a skill, improving your health, and you're hit with the urge to skip a day. If you stop and ask yourself this question, suddenly the situation looks different. The excuse you're clinging to, whether it's tiredness, lack of motivation, or fear, is put side by side with your dream. Which one matters more? I once met a young man who was training for a big competition. One rainy morning, he felt like skipping practice, but he paused and asked himself, will this excuse help me win? Or will it just make me feel better for a few hours? That simple question pulled him out of bed and into the gym. Months later, he won the competition, and he said that moment of asking himself the right question was a turning point. The reason this question is so powerful is that it forces honesty. It's easy to fool ourselves with soft, comforting lies. But when you place your dream next to your excuse, you can see the cost clearly. If you choose the excuse, you're choosing to delay or even sacrifice the dream. Of course, there will be times when rest is necessary, when pausing is wise. This isn't about pushing recklessly through illness or burnout. It's about catching yourself when you're about to give in to laziness, fear, or procrastination disguised as logic. The truth is, most dreams are not lost to massive failures. They're lost to small, repeated excuses. One skipped day turns into a week turns into a month, and before we know it, the goal we once cared about so deeply has faded into the background of our lives. Asking, is this excuse worth my dream? Keeps you connected to the bigger picture. It reminds you why you started in the first place. It forces you to weigh short-term comfort against long-term fulfillment. And most of the time, you'll realize the dream wins, because a moment of discomfort now is nothing compared to the joy of achieving what you set out to do. So the next time you feel the pull of an excuse, pause. Picture your dream. Feel the excitement of achieving it. Then ask yourself the question and let your answer guide you. Because in the end, excuses will always be available, but so will opportunities. The one you choose will determine the life you live